Welcome to Monetize Your Mind with your host, Bob Baer, creator of the More Power to Publish Monetize Your Mind workshop.
And welcome to Monetize Your Mind. This is Pat Dewar. The host of the show is Bob Baer, a serial entrepreneur as well as a publisher with Seeger Publishing. One of the things about today's show that I think you'll really enjoy is that we've brought in a person that has done extremely well in real estate, but even beyond that, has done all the work and then found out that he could create a lifestyle. And that's something that most of the business owners that I know really want in their life. Published authors, they're writing the book to create some sort of 9-pound pearl rolling into the DNA of mankind. They want it out there, but the thing that they really want, most of them, is they want to be able to live the lifestyle of their dreams. They want to create the life that they want. And with that, thank you so much, Bob, for bringing on Mike Wolf. So with that.
Thank you. Mike Wolf from Calgary, Canada. It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
One thing I want to talk about, Mike, and kind of dispel a little bit right off the bat is when people hear about a real estate investor or someone that teaches other people how to invest in real estate, some people get a stereotype in their mind, but I've discovered that you are really interested in helping people in more than just real estate. In fact, when you first came to me and talked to me about publishing a book for you, you said, well, you had 2 books in mind. One of your books was how to help people overcome despondency, depression, and basically a book on happiness. Mm-hmm. And the other was a book on real estate. And you said, which one should I do first? And we came to a mutual conclusion, and that was the people that know you, your followers, the people that you take into cities across the U.S. are your real estate people. So we'll start with the real estate, but in the book we're going to embed some of your story, some of how you have become a happy person, even though you always weren't. So True. I just wanted to start out by letting people know there's some real interesting stories in your background.
Yeah, well, I've been doing this for a while, and most people who know me now, they say, Mike, you're always smiling, you're always happy, you're always working. How do you stay so happy? And part of it is really that when I look at my to-do list every day, everything on there is stuff I want to do. If I don't want to do it, I've got other people in the background that help me with it. And so I basically live my life on purpose every single day. But there was a point in my life where I definitely didn't have that. And it wasn't, well, if we go way back in time, there was a part in my life where I had a car accident. I was depressed. I was basically stuck at home for 8 months straight. And anybody who knows me knows I'm not a homebody by any stretch. And so I got to a really low point in my life, and I managed to pull myself out. It's a long story, but I managed to pull myself out without the use of antidepressants. And I just look at, there's some the economy with what it's going through right now. I see a lot of people that are in that same bleak, dark mm-hmm. spot in their life right now, and I know that I've got the ability to pull them out of that situation. And so, although I love real estate and whatnot, I also love to help people. My background before real estate was psychology, so I always have this love of helping people. And there's just a lot of parallels between what's going on in the real estate market, the economy, and just people's lives in general, and how they're basically, a lot of people are at rock bottom. They're trying to rebuild now and basically start over. And as they start over, there's going to be a lot of lessons in the book on how maybe they could change how they rebuild to have something a little bit different than what they had before that maybe is strategic in making them more happy instead of just having more toys and more material goods. So that's kind of the message. The working title that we're working with, it may not end with that because there are some other books with this title, but we're talking about the working title being The Comeback. Mm-hmm, absolutely. And that applies in several ways, doesn't it? Well, absolutely. And like I said, there's a lot of parallels between what's going on in the economy and just people obviously being affected by the recession, and people coming back as well as the economy coming back. And a lot of times when you're at your lowest point, you don't see anything but negative. That's all. You can't even envision anything better than that in your life. And I can tell you that I went from being at rock bottom to where I am. It didn't take all that long when you think about it. Once you bounce and you can see past that, you start to treat life a little differently, and you take you really treat every day as important, and you have to be productive. Mm-hmm. And so I learned a lot of things along the way, and that's really what I want to share is that, that's my message, is that, things will get better, and there's a lot of reasons to keep going and just a lot of things to look forward to. I find it a little humorous. You tell me that at one time you had a lot of toys. Now, because you're on the road all the time helping people,
invest, teaching people how to invest, that you basically live out of a couple of suitcases.
Pretty much.
You could afford the toys, but you're just happy without them now.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I'm happier because I had a point in my life where I basically traveled for 2 years around the world. And what I did is I put all the things that at that time were really important to me. I had to have the best stereo and the nicest TV. I put that all in storage, and it seemed really tough to give it up at that time. And I thought, how am I going to live without all these things for 2 years? But as I traveled more and more, that stuff became less and less important to me. It became a distant memory. And the things that became important were the people that I met, the adventures that I had, the things that I learned along the way. And when I came back, I really had no desire for those things. And these days, as you mentioned, I live out of a couple of suitcases. I have probably 90% of my possessions with me at any given time. Every now and then, I like to go home and dump out the suitcase and change it for new clothes because you get sick of the same ones. But really, most of what I own is with me at any given time, and it gives me a lot of freedom. Where here we are filming this TV show. If I have to stay later, I can. If I want to hop a flight to somewhere different, be at the beach or whatever it is that makes me happy, I can do it. But a lot of people really become a slave to their possessions. And that's one of the messages that, as I did that trip around the world and met more and more, people, I saw there's people on the other side of the world that don't have nearly what we have from a materialistic standpoint, yet they're grateful and they're happy and they're just, satisfied with what they, have every day, meeting their needs. Whereas here in North America, people are upset if their neighbor gets a better boat than them.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Business Spotlight, is Monetize Your Mind. And we'll be right back.
You can become a published author. Discover a system that will lead you from idea to having your book on the bookshelves. Bob Baer pulls back the curtain at the More Power to Publish workshop. Watch and learn how to follow the step-by-step plan to turn your idea into a published book. Learn more at morepowertopublish.com.
And welcome back to Monetize Your Mind. This is Pat Dewar. Today we're talking about, creating the life that you design. We've got Mike Wolf with us. If you go to MikeWolfTV.com, which he's got some materials there for you. You can get to know him and get to know more about how he's created the life that he lives and using his background to help others create what they want as well. Bob Baer, I know we want to get into a little bit more about, kind of what Mike has done to create this, aren't we?
Yes. I interviewed Mike on a radio show earlier, and I told him I was going to give him kind of a 60 minutes question. And what I told him was that I've heard about and I've seen a lot of real estate seminars that people go to and they pay a few $100s, and then they go to a longer one and pay a few thousand, and then they go to that longer one and end up buying a coaching program for tens of thousands of dollars. And people sometimes get so caught up in the education that they never get around to investing in the real estate. But you cut through all that, don't you? You take people in person to where the properties are. Yes,
I've got a very different approach. And so I speak all over North America. And basically when I speak, I find I've got two different types of people that show up to the room. And so on the one hand, I get people that say, Mike, I love your lifestyle. I love what you're doing. I want to be like you. I want to do what you do. And for those people, I basically take them, here in Texas quite frequently. We'll go to the tax deed auctions. And those are homes where people haven't paid their property taxes. The county eventually sells them off at whatever's owing on the taxes. And so it's an opportunity to buy properties for, a considerable discount. So those are for people that actually want to do the work. But I also get a segment, actually a big segment of the room that says, we thought real estate was get rich quick. We didn't realize there was work involved. And so for those people, my teams will go and buy big packages of properties. We'll fix them. We'll put tenants in place, our property management teams in place. And then basically it becomes very turnkey and passive income for them. And we take all the potential pitfalls out of the equation, so they're not going to make any mistakes. But as you mentioned, there's a lot of very high-priced courses out there, and quite often, a lot of those people, these are marketers. They're not people that are necessarily real estate experts. And quite often, these people might come to somebody like myself and say, "Hey, listen, we've got this program, and we're going to get a bunch of students. Can we sell your homes?" And depending on how they get their students in there, I might or might not work with those people, because the last thing I want is to be associated with some of these people that are charging a large amount of money for the education and not really delivering. And so you're spending all this money on education to learn how to buy a turnkey property. You don't really need to be educated on how to do that. There's no skill involved in that. So what you need to do as a consumer, though, is make sure the people you're dealing with, that they're, first of all, real estate experts, that they're looking out for your best interest, and they're going to find you or teach you what you need to know to to be successful out there. But like I said, a lot of these people this year they're promoting real estate because that's the cool thing, and next year they're promoting blue blocker sunglasses or whatever. Yeah. They're just marketers, so you have to be really careful who you're dealing with.
Blue blocker sunglasses.
They're very successful, absolutely. But so you have to be careful who you're dealing with.
A lot of people that teach, whether it's real estate or publishing or internet marketing, there are people that make their money by being instructors and by selling courses, but then there are people that have actually done the work.
Absolutely.
And you're among those.
Yeah, well, I made my money doing the real estate in the first place, and selling information and teaching other people kind of happened by mistake. And I'll go back a little bit in time. Yeah. As you know, I've been doing real estate for over 20 years. I started off in Canada, and that's where I did most of my work over the years. But probably about 8 years ago, I started in the U.S. for the first time, and I started investing in Las Vegas. And back in those days, the Canadian dollar was maybe at 70 cents. So all my investor friends thought I was crazy. So they'd go, "Let me get this straight. You're cashing in 100,000, you're turning into 70, and then you're going to invest in Vegas. What are you doing?" And I basically managed to find a way to do very well in that market. And we flipped quite a few homes. We became quite successful with it. And then, of course, the recession eventually kicked in, and Americans got hit a lot worse than Canadians did. In Canada, we weren't as exposed nearly as badly. So a lot of Canadians weren't losing their jobs. They still had a lot of money. And all of a sudden, all these Canadians that thought I was crazy started to come to me. And they'd go, "Well, remember we used to make fun of you, but now we want to buy a house in Vegas or Phoenix or Florida, fill in the blank." And I became the go-to guy by mistake. And so people started to ask me, "Well, how do you deal with the taxation issues, dealing cross-border? And how do you convert your currency? And how do you move your money?" And I just became the go-to guy. People started to ask me all kinds of stuff. And then I started to get calls from different, usually American companies that want to do seminars across Canada to try and get Canadian money to invest in the U.S. And so they'd bring me up on, well, first they asked if I wanted to do it, and I said, "Well, I'm just a real estate investor. I'm not a speaker, and I don't know how to do it, and frankly, I'm terrified to do it." And so after a little bit of being coerced, I finally did it, and I was terrified, but I eventually got over that fear after doing it, and I became more and more the go-to guy for that topic. But first and foremost, I did make my money doing the real estate. I continue to do the real estate, but I found out that I actually like teaching and helping other people too. But that was something that wasn't even on my radar. I just thought I'd be doing it how just buying properties for myself for all these years, and then all of a sudden, some random event happened, and now I'm teaching and mentoring.
That's awesome. One of the things that I really want to encourage people to do is connect to your site at, was it Mike Wolf?
MikeWolfMastery.com is my main website. So it's MikeWolfMastery.com. And then I've also got stuff at Mike Wolf TV specific to this episode that we're doing here.
Right. That's one of the things that we really want to encourage you to do, is to go to MikeWolfTV.com and connect with Mike. He's got some great tools and tips and information that can help you create, what you're really looking for in life. And Monetize Your Mind is really about giving you tools to help you grow. We'll be right back.
You can become a published author. Discover a system that will lead you from idea to having your book on the bookshelves. Bob Baer pulls back the curtain at the More Power to Publish workshop. Watch and learn how to follow the step-by-step plan to turn your idea into a published book. Learn more at morepowertopublish.com.
Welcome back. This is Monetize Your Mind. I'm Pat Dewar. Bob Baer is the host, and our guest today is Mike Wolf. MikeWolfTV.com has some material just for you. Today, we're really getting into creating the lifestyle that you want. And when you're talking about Monetize Your Mind, what a great example of someone who's been able to do that. Bob?
Mike, one of the things I really appreciate about you is your laid-back style, your amiable personality. You're not one of these hard-driven people.
Yeah,
I can't imagine having you say, "You're fired." You're a great person, and one of the things I like is that you like people.
I love people.
And so I can imagine when you're leading someone to a city, when you're taking a group, teaching them how to invest, that you're doing it in such a way that's going to be good for them.
Yeah, I'm always looking out for my client, and I'm putting myself in their shoes because, there's just so many pitfalls when it comes to the investing. So many ways you can make mistakes, and I've made them at some point. I've got all the bruises and scrapes along the way. Because when I first started 20 some odd years ago, when I tell people I'm a real estate investor, people go, "Well, what do you do for a living?" They thought that was a hobby, and these days it's an acceptable profession, I guess you could say. And there's people that actually do it full time. That's all they do, and I'm fortunate and grateful to be one of them. But I really, look at all the things and pitfalls and different ways that they could screw up, and remember all the ways that I screwed up, and just show them, okay, don't do this, do this. And I like to guide them through this, but also show them the things that they could have done had they, the things that could have happened to them had they done it on their own. And for me, it's all about fun. To me, if I'm not enjoying something, I'm not going to do it. So I do these tours so that they're not just a learning experience, they're meant to be fun. And I want people to go home and say, we had a great weekend. We learned how to do this, which, something we can monetize, but we also had a great time, and it was just a fun experience. It felt like a vacation at the same time as we were learning. And so it's not meant to be a boot camp or, during the day we do a lot of real estate work, but at night we just, chill and have fun, and that's important.
I first met you, Mike, at a workshop, at a seminar for learning how to speak better.
Right.
And it seems like we keep seeing each other in different states, different parts of the country. And I've noticed you're very much into networking. You like talking with people, you like working with people, but when you're meeting people, when you're meeting someone, what type of person is the person that is a good fit for you, that would be your ideal client? What are you looking for?
Basically the main thing, more than anything, is mindset. It's about people that are abundance-minded, and I really like to work with people that are giving. And I don't really like the people that come to me and go, how can I get rich quick in real estate? That's not my group. There's a lot of other information, seminars and whatnot, where they try and sell people on that dream. That's not my thing. And it really bugs me to see all those, shows on TV like Flip This House, and where they make it really, really, look really simple. You just go buy this house and 60 days later you make $1 million. That doesn't happen. So really what I like to do is help build a lifestyle for people. And so not everybody wants my lifestyle. I want to help them build their lifestyle. And really, when you create that passive income, what happens, you basically create that lifestyle for yourself. And if you're giving, you can be more giving. If you're a good person, you can be more of a good person. It just allows you to be more of what you really are. And so I like to help people create that. And although TV makes it look like flipping homes is the way to go, when you're flipping homes, you're really creating a job for yourself. And it's not saying never flip a home, but really you buy the house, you flip it, you get a paycheck, great, but now you're looking for your next paycheck. But when you buy properties that make sense and you're buying strategically to hold for the long term, these are the things that are going to really create that lifestyle for you. And so the stuff that makes sense right now, here we are, pretty close to the bottom of the market. It's already starting to come back, but it's a lot closer to the bottom than it used to be, that's for sure. And when you have the opportunity to buy properties at today's prices, if they make sense now, they're going to make even more sense in the future as inflation kicks in and rents go up. It's just going to be even more attractive. And of course, there's going to be appreciation. So there's a whole lot of great things that happen. But for people that aren't involved in real estate, they don't understand the real estate cycle. Real estate follows the same cycle over and over and over again. It becomes very predictable. And if you can see the signs and know where you are in the market, you can make money whether it's going up, whether it's going down, or whether it's just staying the same. But there's so many shows that want, and the media wants you to believe that, as things are going up, the hype builds, and people get really excited, and then you start to get these speculators in their market. They're not really investors. They're not very educated when it comes to real estate investing, and they just happen to get lucky because the market's going up. And then they think they found the secret to, I'm a real estate investor. I'm an expert at real estate. But really what happened is just like going to Vegas, putting all your money on red. Red could come up, could even come up twice in a row. Doesn't make you a genius, it makes you lucky. So I like to teach people how to be strategic so they can make money no matter what the market is doing at any given time.
You've said several words I really like. You talked about lifestyle.
I talked about red. Go for red. That's good.
We've talked about making lifestyle part of your brand because you enjoy the lifestyle you have and you want other people to have a lifestyle.
Absolutely.
And I like the word abundance because abundance includes more than just cash. It includes your whole life and your joy and your enjoyment of life. So I really am happy to be working with you as an author to help teach that to people.
Well, in fact, one of the things that, we talked about your website, go to mikewolftv.com, and when you think about the value of a book in about that much time, what do you see as the value of you getting your books out there?
Well, the main thing for me is just spreading the message. Like I said, I have come back from a very, very low point in my life. Luckily, it was in my distant past now. And, the most flattering thing for me is when I see people and I tell them about that story and they don't believe me. They say, "You were never like that. There's no way you were ever like that." They just don't see me as have ever been in that position. And so I know there's a lot of people right now that are where I was, and I know they could be where I am now if given the right, the right help.
That's great. Monetize Your Mind. We'll be right back.
You can become a published author. Discover a system that will lead you from idea to having your book on the bookshelves. Bob Baer pulls back the curtain at the More Power to Publish workshop. Watch and learn how to follow the step-by-step plan to turn your idea into a published book. Learn more at morepowertopublish.com.
And welcome back to Monetize Your Mind. We're going to finish up today with Mike Wolf, mikewolftv.com. You've got great material there. He's really talking about how to create the life that you want. And with that, Bob?
Mike, you brought someone with you on one of your trips to Dallas that you introduced me to, and he was one of your students. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of amazed because he was just kind of a blue-collar worker. He was just a common guy. And yet you were teaching him how to prepare himself for a life like you have, getting passive income.
Exactly. And I like to practice what I preach, obviously. And it does attract a certain demographic of people that say, that's what I want. I want Mike to teach me how to get what he's managed to create in his life. And so Jocelyn, he's from Montreal, Canada, he actually started off as somebody who was very skeptical of me because he'd never heard of me, and I had sent out an email to my list, and one of his friends was on my list, and it was inviting people to a conference in Banff, which is in the mountains in Canada. It's just a beautiful spot. It was a retreat, and we were going to have a little workshop that weekend. And if I remember correctly, I was charging $1,500 for it. And so he phoned me up, and he basically said, "Well, I'd love to go to Banff. I don't really care about you. I just need an excuse to go there. And so I'd be willing to pay $500 because that's what other people in the industry, they charge for these little workshops." And I go, "Well, the biggest difference is their workshops are meant to upsell you to something expensive. They're not going to give you a lot of value in that weekend. They're going to get you there, and then you're going to buy something else that's maybe $30,000 or $15,000 or whatever it is." And I said, "My workshop, you're actually going to do work. You're actually going to leave there with certain skill sets. And at the end of the day, you're going to be able to actually do something and monetize the stuff that you learned." And so he started off very skeptical. And it's kind of ironic because he ended up, he happens to work for the airline, so he can fly for really cheap. So he actually flew to Calgary to meet with me to do lunch. He wanted to pick my brain before we even did this Banff thing. And he asked me a whole bunch of questions. And when he heard about my lifestyle and saw that I was genuine and real, he got really excited. And he started off from somebody being very skeptical to somebody who ended up coming on one of my tours. And I taught him how to do tax deeds in Houston, Texas. And then he ended up being one of my mentor students who actually comes with me on the road. He travels around and gets to see how I actually do my business, how I live, and meet some of the people that are important in my life, such as yourself. And so it's kind of ironic. He started off very, very skeptical, like I said, and he became one of my top students. And now he's just out there and just crushing it. So he's doing very well.
How could somebody connect with you? How could somebody learn more about and begin a relationship with you?
Well, I suggest I have a lot of free content out there on the web. I've got my own YouTube channel. The best place to start is at mikewolftv.com. That's MIKEWOLF TV.com. And that'll get you on my list. You'll be on my radar so we can start communicating. But you can also phone me toll free, 1-888-265-0662. That's 1-888-265-0662. You're always going to get me. You're not going to get a secretary or an assistant. I love to deal one-on-one with people. And I love chatting with people, especially if it has to do with real estate or passive income or just happiness or life in general.
You go to a lot of conferences and you love learning like I do. if you were going to a conference in a particular city and it was near someone, would you be willing to meet someone in that city
Anytime,
and
absolutely.
connect up?
I do that all the time. I have a lot of clients all over North America, and whenever I'm in a city that they're in, I'll always call them up and say, hey, let's go for coffee. And I love, to me, this is a passion. It's not a job. It doesn't feel like a chore. A lot of times people will phone me up with a real estate question. They'll say, well, I'm sorry to bug you. I know you're really busy. I go, that's not bugging me. This is what I love to do. If I didn't love doing it, I wouldn't be doing it. So, people always say, well, don't you get sick of the travel? You're always traveling. Don't you get sick of living out of hotels? No, if I didn't like it, I don't have to do it. I'm not doing it because I have to. I'm doing it because I want to. And so, that's a big distinction, is that I love meeting people. It's not a chore, and I love talking real estate, and I love just talking in general. So, absolutely.
Do you speak as well on different platforms? Can somebody contact you to speak on their platform as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I would gladly speak just about anywhere, and absolutely. So once again, you can call me at that same number. I'd be happy to do that, and vice versa. If you have something that might look good on my stage, I always like to collaborate with people as well.
Very good. Very good. Bob, any last questions?
What would you like to leave our listeners with? What thought would be a good ending thought for us?
Well, I think a good ending thought might be, this is a time right now to create that passive income, whether it be through real estate or something else. I love real estate, but it doesn't have to be your vehicle of choice to get there. But don't rely on the government to, for your retirement, and get financially literate. Start to learn some things on how to, better handle your own money. Don't let other people manage it that aren't looking out for your best interest. And so it's really important to keep educated, and that's why I'm still learning myself. I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm always learning, and I'm open-minded to know that I don't know everything. As a matter of fact, I know very little. I'm very good at some very specific things, but there's a lot of things that I'm really bad at, and I'm fortunate enough to have the right people and right teams to back me up on all the things that I'm not good at. But a lot of it comes down to education, because you don't know what you don't know, and that's the stuff that's very dangerous to you.
So it sounds to me like it's important that each of us take responsibility to monetize our own mind.
Absolutely. That is very true. I would agree with that 100%.
And Bob, with you, how can people connect with you? Monetize Your Mind is obviously out there for folks that are trying to get published and grow their influence.
The easiest website to remember is bobbear.com, BOBBARE. We also have seegerpublishing.com, but it's SEGR publishing.com.
One of these days you're going to have to tell us what that means, because there's a story behind Seeger Publishing. And if you do want to become an author that is published with 25,000 plus distribution points, you should connect to Bob Bear. Bob is a great program, like today with Mike at wolftv.com. Mike has been able to plug into what Bob is already doing to help Mike create even more of a circle of influence, so that his impact can really probably change nations. I'm so thankful for you guys being on the show today. Monetize Your Mind. Bob Bear, Pat Dewar. We'll talk to y'all next time.